Hi, boys and girls. The roommate's mom here, as promised, back with another story entitled The Beginning, A Perfect Home. This is going to be from Genesis 1 through 2, the Song of Creation. I hope you enjoy. In the beginning, there was nothing. Nothing to hear, nothing to feel, nothing to see. Only emptiness and darkness, and nothing but nothing. But God was there, and God had a wonderful plan. I'll take this emptiness, God said, and I'll fill it up. Out of the darkness, I'm going to make light. And out of the nothing, I'm going to make everything. Like a mommy bird flutters her wings over her eggs to help her babies hatch, God hovered over the deep. Silent darkness, He was making life happen. God spoke. That's all. And whatever He said, it happened. God said, "Hello, light," and light shone into the darkness. God called the light day and the darkness night. "You're good," God said, and they were. Then God said, "Hello, sea. Hello, sky." And a great space opened up, wide and deep and high. "You're good," God said, and they were. Then God said, "Hello, land." And there, splashing up through the oceans, came cliffs, mountains, sandy beaches. "You're good," God said, and they were. "Hello, trees," God said. "Hello, grass and flowers, and everything everywhere burst into life. He made buds bud, shoot shoot, and flowers flower. "You're good," God said, and they were. "Hello, stars," God said. "Hello, sun. Hello, moon." And whizzing into the darkness came fiery globes, spinning around and around, whirling orange and purple and golden planets. "You're good," God said, and they were. "Hello, birds," God said, and with a fluttering and flapping and chirping and singing, birds filled the sky. "Hello, fish," God said, and with a darting and dashing and wriggling and splashing, fish filled the seas. "You're good," God said, and they were. Then God said, "Hello, animals," and everyone came out to play. The earth was filled with noisy noises, growling and groveling and snapping and snoring and happy scufferlucking. "You're good," God said, and they were. God saw all that He had made, and He loved them, and they were very lovely because He loved them. But God saved the best for last. From the beginning, God had a shining dream in His heart. He would make people to share His forever happiness. He would be His children, and the world would be their perfect home. So God breathed life into Adam and Eve. When they opened their eyes, the first thing they ever saw was God's face. And when God saw them, He was like a new dad. "You look like me," He said. "You're the most beautiful thing I've ever made." God loved them with all His heart, and they were lovely because He loved them. And Adam and Eve joined in the song of the stars and the streams and the wind and the trees, the wonderful song of love to the one who made them. Their hearts were filled with happiness, and nothing ever made them sad or lonely or sick or afraid. God looked at everything that He had made. "Perfect," He said, and it was. But all the stars and the mountains and the oceans and the galaxies and everything were nothing compared to how much God loved His children. He would move heaven and earth to be near them, always. Whatever happened, whatever it cost them, He would always love them. And so it was that the wonderful love story began. I know I said one story tonight, boys and girls, but it's Sunday, so let's give you two. So right after the beginning story is a story called The Terrible Lie, and this is about Adam and Eve losing everything, and it comes from Genesis 3. Hope you enjoy. Adam and Eve lived happily together in their beautiful new home, and everything was perfect for a while, until the day when everything went wrong. God had a horrible enemy. His name was Satan. Satan had been the most beautiful angel, but he didn't want to just be an angel. He wanted to be God. He grew proud and evil and full of hate, and God had to send him out of heaven. Satan was seething with anger and looking for a way to hurt God. He wanted to stop God's plan and stop the love story right there. So he disguised himself as a snake and waited in the garden. Now God had given Adam and Eve only one rule: Do not eat the fruit on that tree, God told them, because if you do, you'll think you know everything. You'll stop trusting me, and then death and sadness and tears will come. You see, God knew if they ate the fruit, they would think they didn't need him, and they would try to make themselves happy without him. But God knew there was no such thing as happiness without him, and life without him wouldn't be life at all. As soon as the snake saw his chance, he slithered silently up to Eve. Does God really love you? The serpent whispered. If he does, why doesn't he let you eat the nice, juicy, delicious fruit? Poor you, perhaps God doesn't want you to be happy. The snake's words hissed in her ears and sunk down deep in her heart like poison. Does God love me? Eve wondered. Suddenly she didn't know anymore. Just trust me, the serpent whispered. You don't need God. One small taste, that's all, and you'll be happier than you could ever dream. Eve picked the fruit and ate some, and Adam ate some too. And a terrible lie came into the world and would never leave. It will live on in every human heart, whispering to every one of God's children, God doesn't love me. It wasn't a dream, it was a nightmare. A dove flew from Adam's hand, a deer darted into a thicket. It was as if they were frightened by something. A chill was in the air. Something strange was happening, that they had always been naked, but now they felt naked and wrong, and they didn't want anyone to see them, so they hid. Later that evening, as God was taking his walk, he called to them, Children. Usually Adam and Eve loved to hear God's voice and would run to him, but this time they ran away from him and hid in the shadows. Where are you? God called. Hiding, Adam said. We're afraid of you. Did you eat the fruit I told you not to eat? God asked him. Adam said, Eve made me do it. What have you done? God asked. Eve said, the serpent made me do it. And terrible pain came into God's heart. His children hadn't just broken one rule, they had broken God's heart. They had broken their wonderful relationship with him, and now he knew everything would break. God's creation would start to unravel and come undone and go wrong. From now on, everything would die, even though it was supposed to last forever. You see, sin had came into God's perfect world, and it would never leave. God's children would always be running away from him and hiding in the dark. Their hearts would break now and would never work properly again. God couldn't let his children live forever, not in such pain, not without him. There was only one way to protect them. You will have to leave the garden now, God told his children, his eyes filling with tears. This is no longer your true home. It is not the place for you anymore. But before they left the garden, God made clothes for his children to cover them. He gently clothed them and sent them away on a long, long journey out of the garden, out of their home. Well, in another story, it would all be over, and that would be the end. Well, boys and girls, tune in next time, and you will see what happens in the next part of the story. Until next time, have a good night and have a beautiful sleep. See you soon from the roommates and the roommate's mom, Miss Cynthia.